Hello and welcome back, and I'm going to continue with the exploration of deep water mathematics. Last week we had discussed the nature of the physical and the nature of the vital and basically come up with some equations for them. And today I want to do the same, looking at the mental. Now, just a quick summary. We had, in order to come up with those equations for the physical and vital, we had looked at four compartments. And one was the nature of the point, where implicit in a point we are hypothesizing that there are four deep characteristics, and we had defined four equations for these characteristics and called them an equation for omnipresence, omnipower, omniscience, and omniloving. So these four characteristics are implicit in every single point. And then we had hypothesized that this goes through a translation to become a broader set of architectural forces that then are responsible for the governance and development of any kind of organization that we will see in any market or any area of the world. And we had represented these four sets of architectural forces by four sets: a set for omnipresence, a set for omnipotence, a set for omniscience, and a set for omniloving. This had further gone through a second translation, and in that translation we hypothesized that any organization is unique, and there is a particular signature that can be assigned to that uniqueness, and we developed an equation for that signature. And so we had equation for signature, and then subsequently we developed also an equation for culture. And this went through another translation where basically we went back to the terms physical, vital, mental, integral, and so on, and the idea being that this signature then practically plays out within these terms that we see visibly around us. Now, when we think about the nature of the mental, what we want to do is we want to integrate the behaviors or the dynamics of each of these four quote-unquote compartments. And so if I refer to this compartment as M outer, the mental outer, I'll refer to this compartment as meta level 1, and again this compartment has to do with the essence behind the organization. I'll refer to this compartment here as meta level 2, and this has to do with the broad architectural forces that are responsible for the development of organizations, and I'll refer to this as meta level 3, and this has to do again with the nature of the point which exists in every point in space, or the field within which any organization will develop. So in considering the nature of the mental, what we really have in this framework is a set of equations, and at the deepest level there's an equation for at meta level 3, which can be defined as the equation we had come up for omniscience. And that equation, if you recall, is basically such that there is a knowledge in any system that we're working with that leverages physical, vital, and mental instrumentation, which I had represented as physical IC, vital IC, mental IC, such that there is a shift from the physical leading to the vital leading, or the vital leading to the mental leading. And this is true across any time-space boundary from 0 to n. So this is an equation for omniscience or for knowledge that exists within any time-space boundary or continuum. So any kind of causal wedge that we could practically consider within which an organization or a system exists. At meta level 2, what we have is a set for omniscience, and if you recall, that set is going to have elements such as knowledge, wisdom, the formation of laws, large laws, a penetration of knowledge, the spreading of knowledge, and so on. And so these are the kinds of characteristics that we would see if knowledge were prevailing. Now, at meta level 1, which defines the essence behind an organization, and here we're looking at a mental kind of organization, what we have is a signature with the base M for mental, which is such that you would have a primary characteristic with a weight A plus any number of secondary characteristics with a weight B, such that the secondary characteristic may repeat itself from 0 to n times, and such that X, the primary element here, is an element from the set of omniscience, so from this set here, and the secondary element Y can be an element from any of the sets: omniscience, omnipresence, omnipower, omniloving. And A and B are both integers, such that A is greater than B. And when we think about M outer, this is such that it can also be defined as a set with the kinds of characteristics such as fragmentation, fixation, fundamentalism, myopia, and so on. So what we have here is a set of equations that define the nature of the mental, and implicit in this is the idea that at the deepest level we have this incredible play of knowledge in any system that leverages the right instrumentation at that point in the system to bring about a shift in the orientation that's leading that system. And on the outer layer, what we have is quite its opposite. There's a fixation or a fundamentalism, there's acute fragmentation, so that only one idea or one particular aspect is considered to be the whole truth, if you will. And what we're saying is the nature is such that there is an integration and a gradual transformation of this M outer to something quite its opposite. And the process by which this occurs is that these metal level equations from metal level 1, 2, 3 are incarnate, if you will, into the outer more and more over time. Now, when we have considered the equation for the vital, we represented that incarnation or transformation by this seed that is made up of concentric circles, and at the very core of this is the metal level 3. So this here, that's surrounded by metal level 2, which is surrounded by metal level 1, which is surrounded by M outer. And basically, our hypothesis was that if we consider this to be a time encapsulation, so that there's a starting point at t0, then initially the nature of M is such that it's entirely in the outer, and then over time there is more of an integration with the deeper layers, so that ultimately the outer aspect with these very restricted characteristics such as fragmentation, fixation, and so on become quite their opposite through the influence of these metal level equations. And so if I were to represent this as a quote-unquote mathematical function, I'd call this the transformation circle, so TC for transformation circle, and this is modulated, if you will, certainly by sign, because we have at its very core this integration that takes place by a sinusoidal function, but then also there's a progressive growth, so not only is there layer 1, but more and more layers are involved, so there's some kind of modulation by the constant E, which is the constant for divergence, and then finally the integration takes place within a bounded sphere or area, a circular area, which I would represent by a modulation of pi. So this transformation circle is such that it is modulated by sine E and pi, and obviously there's a deeper mathematics that would need to be worked out, but this is kind of the essence of it. And so I would say that ultimately this equation for mental, the nature of the mental, and here there's an assumption that the nature of the mental is such that there's this implicit transformation that basically transforms the M outer into something very, very different. It's opposites of what we see initially. And so the full equation for the nature of the mental would be this kind of quote-unquote multiplied or with the product of TC, transformation circle modulated by sine E pi.